Hey, how you doing?
Hello, President Morales. How are you?
Hi. Good. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I just wanted to let you know that we're currently live. We're live streaming right now. We're live streaming
Okay.
on YouTube, and
Perfect.
we have a good amount of attendees that have been joining us.
Fantastic.
Yes, so it's gonna. I think it's gonna be a great event.
Great.
We're gonna give it a few more minutes before we get started with the program.
Sure. Sure.
Hi, Adonis.
Can you see me okay?
Yes, we can see you. Maybe if you want to move your camera a little down. There
How's
you.
that? How's
That's
that?
that's a lot better.
Perfect. Got my ASI.
Polo on. All right, you might want to move it a little bit more down so you can show off your ASI polo. There you go. How are you, President Morales?
All right. All right. How about the top of my iPad? Can you see the top of my iPad?
No.
Okay. Perfect. Because
Awesome.
I got my notes on here.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Awesome. We're set to go. So how are you doing, President Morales?
I'm doing well. How about yourself? I was worrying about you and your mom. How's everything going?
Well, everything's going great. I'd just like to mention that all of us recovered well.
Good, good, good,
Family and I,
good, good.
we're all healthy now.
My
We got
wife
cleared by.
Evie was asking. She was asking how things were going.
No, definitely. Things are going great.
Good,
We were cleared by county officials late 2 weeks ago.
excellent,
So we're on the roll.
excellent. God, thank.
Seems like we lost President Morales.
Okay. All right.
We're going to get started with the program, President Morales.
Okay.
Sounds
Perfect.
good. Hello, everyone. My name is Adonis Galarza, and I serve as your president for the Associated Students Incorporated. On behalf of ASI, I would like to welcome you all on our newest series as part of our ongoing virtual engagement efforts, Fireside Chats with the ASI President. Our goal with this new series is to keep you informed on the status of our campus and the various resources offered to you during our time away. Our goal with these chats are to bring you firsthand information from key stakeholders and decision makers through live interviews where you, the student body of CSUSB, can have the opportunity to engage remotely. We hope you are able to stick with us through the remainder of this segment. Throughout the last few weeks, we have all found ourselves in times of uncertainty and hardships. It has been a time in which we as students and members of society have had to adjust to new realities, modify our day-to-day routines, and make various sacrifices to ensure health and the well-being of our loved ones. It has been a time in which we as students have had to make difficult decisions in all areas of our livelihood. However, our resiliency and our ability to keep on fighting for our educational dreams is one we need to remind ourselves of. It's this kind of level of passion and commitment that of which you are currently undertaking through your academic progress that needs to be the motivational factor to keep on going. These are indeed trying times and will most certainly go down in history. But like any other challenge, this is only temporary. It's in the meantime. It's important that we all stay informed and understand the work that goes behind the scenes to ensure our academic success. It is why I'm very excited about our first guest this afternoon, who is here to answer any questions about our collegiate journey. With many decisions being made around the clock and on the current state of our academic affairs, it only made sense to it only made sense to bring you the key stakeholder in the decision-making process. Now, rest assured, while many tough decisions have been made up to this point, I can confirm that everybody's priority right now is focused on the best interest of the student body. Fellow Coyotes, to kick off our fireside chat, please join me in welcoming President of Cal State San Bernardino, Dr. Tomás Morales. President Morales, welcome.
Thank you, Adonis. Thank you. And I'm joining you today along with my ASI, with our ASI President, Adonis Galarza-Toledo, who, by the way, has done just an outstanding job as your president. We are both committed to providing you with an update on Cal State San Bernardino and the COVID-19 pandemic, and seek your input regarding the fall 2020 semester. The entire President's Cabinet is here with us today as well, and available to answer questions that I may not have the answer for you. The California State University announced on Tuesday at its virtual Board of Trustees meeting that all of the CSU campuses will begin the fall semester primarily in a remote virtual environment as a public safety measure, with limited exceptions for in-person activities that cannot be delivered virtually. However, any educational sessions held on campus will follow rigorous safety requirements, including distance between participants, required personal protective equipment, and spaces and equipment will need to be disinfected between users. The decision as to which coursework, academic, and student support services requires in-person attendance will be made in thoughtful consultation with the Faculty Senate, ASI, the Staff Council, and the union leadership, and will be based on compelling educational and research needs while continuing to meet safety benchmarks accompanied by rigorous safety measures and training. Campus plans to hold in-person activities will need to be approved by the Chancellor and local public health entity systems. Guidelines are currently being developed for the implementation and operationalizing the fall 2020 semester. As the Chancellor has said, the evolving circumstances of COVID-19 makes the virtual planning approach for the next academic year necessary. Cases have not peaked in many areas of California, and immunity is currently estimated at just 3% of the population. Forecasts project a second wave this summer, another significant wave coupled with seasonal influenza during late fall, and the potential of yet another wave in early 2021. Meanwhile, no vaccine exists, and it is unlikely one will be widely available during the next academic year. I agree with Chancellor White that utilizing a virtual format this fall is inevitable. Choosing it now allows us to preserve as many options for as many students as possible, and is consistent with the CSU's guiding principle of meeting students where they are. With the institution of additional training and professional development during the summer, accompanied by ongoing planning and deep consultation with campus stakeholders, CSUSB will be prepared to deliver what Chancellor White describes, and I know CSUSB's faculty and staff are committed to providing an even more comprehensive and robust virtual educational experience for students in fall 2020. Additional updates for our 2020 fall semester include the availability of campus student housing will be reduced. All residential rooms will be singles, and students will be charged at the double rate. The CCAA Intercollegiate Athletic Conference unfortunately will not hold a fall sports season. Spring 2020 commencement has been postponed to a later date, hopefully in December. The CSUSB remains open. It has never closed and remains dedicated to excellence and to meeting our student needs in the 2021 academic year. The reality is where we are going to have to create a new normal. As we move through this pandemic, what we think of as standard operating procedures will need to adapt. While change is hard and frustrating, my hope is that we will come through this experience with the health of our community intact and with new and better ways of operating as an anchor institution of higher education in the Inland Empire. Let's start with what we currently know about the highly infectious disease, which is part of the coronavirus family, but which is new, that is novel in human beings of approximately 6 months ago. According to medical and science reports cited widely, more than 4 months of clinical experience across Asia, Europe, and North America has shown that the pathogen does much more than invade the lungs. It attacks the heart, weakening its muscles and disrupting its critical rhythm. It savages kidneys so badly some hospitals have run short of dialysis equipment. It crawls along the nervous system, destroying taste and smell and occasionally reaching the brain. It creates blood clots that kill with sudden efficiency and inflames blood vessels throughout the body. It can begin with a few symptoms or none at all, then days later squeeze the air out of the lungs without warning. It picks on the elderly, people weakened by previous disease, and disproportionately the obese. It harms men more than women, but there are also signs it complicates pregnancies. It mostly spares the young until it doesn't. Last week, doctors warned of a rare inflammatory reaction with cardiac complications among children that may be connected to the virus. There is no preventive vaccine on hand, and we do not know when one will be available for use. There is no confirmed treatment which definitively alleviates symptoms and cures the disease, and testing is both insufficiently available and not 100% reliable. We also do not have a robust contact system in place to track and isolate everyone who has come in contact with infected individuals once they have been identified. Our goal, as always, is to ensure the health and safety of all students, faculty, and staff we serve while providing access to the best educational experience possible. We are continuing to mandate the wearing of masks, physical distancing, and frequent hand washing while on campus. While the requirement to do so is no longer mandated by San Bernardino or Riverside counties, it is still strongly recommended, not only by the counties, but by the Center for Disease Control, in order to ensure the health of everyone on the campus. Therefore, these requirements remain for anyone on the San Bernardino or Palm Desert campuses. The medical field has provided us with the data, and this is the best possible way to keep any necessary interactions safe, particularly as carriers can be asymptomatic and therefore can appear to be virus-free, but shedding the virus without their knowledge. Per the CDC, wearing cloth face coverings an additional public health measure people should take to reduce the spread of COVID-19. CDC still recommends that you stay at least 6 feet away from other people, frequent hand cleaning, and other everyday preventive actions. A cloth face covering is not intended to protect the wearer, but it may prevent the spread of the virus from the wearer to others. This would be especially important if someone is infected but does not have symptoms. Wearing a mask protects others from you. When everyone wears a mask, the community is protected. At the present time, we will continue with current arrangement as a virtual campus. Given the current shortage, we are looking into how we might provide masks to all members of the university community. Meetings should be conducted virtually if possible. The Provost and the Division of Academic Affairs are undertaking planning for the fall 2020 semester. We are prioritizing in-person instruction for courses with academic outcomes that cannot be measured or achieved virtually. For such classes, limitations will need to be placed on the number of attendees for courses and/or sections. The Vice President for Student Affairs is working on how and when residential housing may be safe to open up completely, including new restrictions and protections. I want to emphasize in a few more minutes and I'll close. I want to emphasize that the situation is still evolving rapidly. So the guidelines in place today may be more or less restrictive tomorrow. For example, guidelines may call for the implementation of temperature checks, mandatory flu shots, and closure of campus to the public at large. We are not at that stage, but know that we are closely monitoring the pandemic, federal, state, and local guidelines, and are in contact with our local public health agencies. The leadership of the institution, the cabinet, continues to meet daily to address COVID-19. I know that there are many questions regarding tuition and fees, which are set by the California State University system. Let me share the official policy of the system. Category 1, system-wide mandatory tuition and other fees that must be paid to apply to enroll in or attend the university or to pay the full cost of required instruction will not be prorated or refunded or reduced. Category 2, campus-specific mandatory fees will not be prorated, refunded, or reduced. Category 3, campus-specific mandatory fees may be prorated, refunded, or reduced. These fees are associated with state support courses related to materials and services. Category 4, campus-specific mandatory fees may be prorated, refunded, or reduced as appropriate. These fees are paid to self-support programs such as extended education, international programs, parking, housing, meal plans. Lastly, I want you to know that I and the senior leadership team has read very carefully the virtual instruction feedback students have provided to us. We value and take your feedback very seriously and will use it to improve the instructional and collegiate experience of all of our students. Thank you for your attention, and I now turn it back to President Toledo, and we will entertain questions and comments.
Thank you for joining us again, Dr. Morales. Wow, you covered a lot. I must say that I'm sure a lot of that information was a lot to grasp on, and a lot. So I'd just like to ask you some questions that we gathered through the recent survey sent out to students.
Sure.
But first, I'd like to start off with asking you, how are you doing during this challenging time?
Well, it's becoming, it's difficult. I'm over the age of 65, and so therefore, based on the university's policy, I'm prohibited from being on the campus. I also, but otherwise we do, we're doing well. My wife and I, we walk every day. We do exercise every day. We try to stay fit, try to eat healthy, and try to stay out of harm's way. Thank you for asking.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Moving on, based on our survey, there seems to be a lot of variation in the quality of instruction that students are receiving at this time. Some students are satisfied with the quality, while a majority are not. How does the campus plan on delivering a more consistent level of high quality instruction?
Well, the feedback is very important. I've read the feedback, and some of the comments I found concerning. Not because the students are providing that feedback. We welcome the feedback, but it really gives us some insight as to how students are experiencing instruction that's being delivered virtually. So there's two types of instruction. The first type of instruction is what you would call synchronous instruction. That means instruction that is held at the same time. Like if we were pre-COVID-19, you took a class on Monday and Wednesday from 10 to 11, every Monday and Wednesday for the entire semester, that's when you would go to class. And then there are courses that are asynchronous, and that that tends to be online courses, courses that don't meet at a specific time, but are held online, and the interaction between instructor and student takes place via Blackboard or other electronic means. And so the provost and I and the deans and department chairs are really looking at the feedback that students have provided. We're going to be holding a series of professional development programs over the summer with faculty to improve the delivery of instruction virtually. We're going to be working very closely with student affairs staff to ensure that we're able to deliver student services to faculty, psychological counseling services, health services, career services. And so, you know, we had to pivot in March, no question. And within 24 hours, we had to pivot because the governor issued a stay-at-home order. Students were fabulous. I will share with you that at the end of the winter quarter, I was very worried because right before the day before finals, we had to move the finals to a online virtual format. And I will share with you that the passing rates of our courses were increased over last winter 2019. Our incomplete rates went down from winter 2019. And so our students did quite well. Our faculty were very accommodating to our students. We continue to monitor and again, continue to work very closely. I want to just see if our provost and vice president for academic affairs can also respond to your question, and Sam Sudica, who's really been instrumental in the IT support for students as well.
Most definitely, we'll get them on. Okay. Meanwhile, we get them on.
Okay.
I would just, I know you touched on this on your opening statements, but maybe a lot of those folks who weren't here didn't get a chance. So what is the plan for summer and fall? And if you can talk a little bit on financial aid available for students for summer.
Well, we have a very robust financial aid program this summer. So we are providing grants for students to complete particularly those students that need the summer to graduate. And we're providing grant aid for students. We're also, as we've had in the last couple of summers, provided literally over $2 million in financial aid to students to help pay for their coursework. So students who are struggling to pay for someone need to contact us, need to contact the Office of Financial Aid, and we will work with you to ensure that, that you receive the financial aid and the financial aid advising that is critical. I see our provost is on, and I want her to respond to the earlier question regarding the level of inconsistency in the delivery of instruction.
Sure.
Barry?
Thank you, President Morales, and thank you, President Adonis. It's so good to be here with everyone. You know, as the president mentioned, this has been a huge pivot for our faculty. Many who are very traditional, many of them are senior in rank, meaning they have not had as much exposure to the virtual world as many of our students has gone through these past few years. So we had effectively trained we have about 1,000 faculty altogether in a 3 to 4 day turnaround period to get them to just use technology in a way that maybe they've never experienced it. So we realized that that was just the start. And now that they know how to log on and maybe even tape their lectures or do a Zoom recording, this summer and for the next several weeks, we're going to be focusing on quality teaching. And so we're asking every faculty member to attend a training session, and we're working that out now through our colleges and working with the deans on those skill sets that are most important for the realm that they're teaching in. And so we're developing that in accordance with the college deans and the college faculty and all our stakeholder groups. And we know that next fall is going to be a different experience.
I want to turn it over. Thank you, Sherry. I want to turn it over to Sam because I saw that there was a question regarding hotspots, and Sam just recently sent out Dr. Sam Sudica, who's our Chief Information Officer. Sam?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, President Morales. So the hotspots, we have fulfilled all the requests from the hotspot from students for hotspot requests, as well as laptop requests. We have more hotspots on order. So if any of our students have problems accessing the internet from home, they can certainly request the hotspot through the link that I provided in my email yesterday. And I hope to provide new information as it comes our way of new software, free software, and other resources that are available to students through my bi-weekly email to the student community. But if you have filled out a hotspot request and you haven't received it, please let me know. Students have been emailing me directly, and I've been responding to their emails as well. So if you run into any issues, please don't hesitate to email me directly. Thank you.
Let me talk a little bit of respond to your your later question, Adonis, about plans for the summer and the fall. So we will have a short 6-week summer session because, as everyone knows, this spring we're currently in our last quarter, and so summer. We'll have a 6-week summer program. What are the dates? Can you remind me of the dates? Is it June 23rd? Just want to make sure we give the dates out for the summer.
June 22nd through July 28th.
Okay, I was close.
Very
June 22nd to July 8th. So again, we're providing financial aid. This financial aid is available. We're giving grants to students who need to take courses to graduate. We want to graduate as many students who are close to the finish line as possible. In addition to those students who are not going to be able to graduate by going to summer school, there's financial aid is available. The fall semester is evolving. We're waiting to receive guidelines, which I spoke about in my opening remarks, from the chancellor. What are the parameters regarding in-person courses? Which courses we will hold in person? And what are the safety measures? We don't want to just offer courses without having a plan in place. This is a very serious pandemic, and we simply cannot put students, faculty, and staff in jeopardy or at risk. The pandemic is not going to go away anytime soon. And so we will have some in-person activities, both in terms of courses and others, but only after they've been approved by the chancellor and by public health entities. We are working as we speak. We're currently meeting with the Dutchess County public health officials and the Riverside County health public officials that oversee the Palm Desert campus.
Thank you for that, Dr. Morales. Moving on to my next question. You touched a little bit about the policies on category 1, 2, 3, and 4 fees. For those fees that are adjustable or that may be adjusted through the CSU policy, which are, category 3 and 4, will there be any tuition? Will there be any adjustments made to those fees?
Well, they already have. We already have made adjustments to the fees. So for example, we refunded housing fees that were paid for the entire year for students when they moved out of the resident halls. We have reimbursed food costs, meal plan fees. We have reimbursed parking fees for students. We have reimbursed students for certain course fees, courses that that require a course fee, like in photography, for example. Those fees have been reimbursed to students. So we will be continuing to look at ways to, when we have the flexibility, the local flexibility, to provide the either prorated or reduced fee structure for our students. The category, as I mentioned, 1 and 2 are fees that we do not control. These are fees that are system-wide, and I know that many students, I've read many emails and commentary from students regarding the fee of those 2 category 1 and 2. But at this point, the system does not plan to reduce those fees or reimburse. As the chancellor said on national TV, it actually costs more money to deliver these courses virtually, and so it's a challenge.
Okay, thank you very much, President Morales, for explaining and going a little bit into depth on that. Another question that was repeated, that was
Let me just hold on. I know there are other, Doug Freer is at his daughter's commencement ceremony, so he's not here, but I know that there are other members of the administration and finance that may be more knowledgeable about fees than I am. So I want to give them an opportunity to speak to the question of fees, because I know that that's a major issue that students are grappling with.
Dr. Morales, you have covered it all. We have.
Please identify yourself, Munir, please.
This is Munir Ahmed. I'm the Associate Vice President for Finance and Administration. And good to join you all on this chat. So the fees for housing, meal plan, and parking has been refunded. The process is for course and material fees for a spring term will be posted to the students' accounts shortly. Summer plan, we are working on it, will be the same way. The course and material fees, where it makes sense, the faculty is making the determination, and they will be waived.
Thank you. And hi, Munir. I wanted to ask you a follow-up question now that I have you here. One of the questions that was really brought up by our master students is the online fee that MPA students pay. Will that fee be waived, or is there a possibility for that fee to be waived since classes are now being offered virtually?
So Dr. Anderson, Jonathan Anderson, has been working with Provost McMahon, looking at it, whether it is within the campus bound to be able to do that and so forth, and we will have a determination soon. My understanding is the technology piece of it is to cover the department's incremental, and the analysis that needs to take place is because we will have now a larger online overall class size, could the average cost be reduced and still not impact what's needed to maintain the quality, the software licenses and accessibility of those courses? And it's likely that the average cost could go down. We're analyzing it, and we'll have a determination soon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Munir. With the next question to President Morales and to the cabinet. This was mentioned already in your opening speech, But what is the plan for commencement?
So great question. Thank you. Thank you for asking that question. And so we have received many emails from our graduating seniors regarding commencement. And the theme of those emails, if I can capture them, are twofold. One, please do not postpone, please do not cancel commencement. And the second theme is we would prefer that we do not have a virtual commencement ceremony. And so while we have not made the announcement publicly because we're reluctant to give a date and then have to be able to retract those dates, but I will share with you that we have worked with the Honda Arena in Ontario. We have identified 2 dates for the June graduates, the June 2020 graduates. I'll just share with you December 14th and 15th. We have not informed the entire student body, but we have those dates on reserve. We plan to hold commencement for our graduating June 2020 graduates. We also, hopefully, assuming that it's safe to do so, will hold commencement on traditional December commencement for those graduates who are graduating in December 2020. And those commencement exercises will take place on the campus as it has traditionally been our venue at the Csusb Arena. So that's our plan. We're not, I know that Channel Islands, I just got an invitation. They're having a virtual commencement. I'm gonna take a look to see what that looks like. And but right now, the will of the students. Now let me just share this with you. We're looking at different ways to celebrate our graduates, literally as we speak. And know that simply because there's not going to be a commencement exercise this June, it doesn't mean that you will not receive your degree. As soon as the grades are in and your degree is certified by the registrar and others, we will be mailing, as we do every year, the degrees to each of our students. So you will have your degree in hand, and God willing, we'll have our June commencement and our December commencements, hopefully in December, but we will have commencement.
Thank you very much for the clarification, Dr. Morales. I know that our seniors, it's something that we've all been looking forward to all of our lives. Sometimes even, growing up, we didn't even think about the possibility of crossing a stage, right, with a degree, and now tumbling across these difficult times, right, has caused a lot of stress and feelings of uncertainty for students. So thank you for the clarification. And now at this time, I would like to provide a time to move on to our live Q&A session.
Okay.
With questions coming from our current online audience. I would like to remind everyone to joining us to use the Q&A button on your screen, not the chat button, to submit your questions. Questions will be based on the order submitted. So I invite Herbert to come in and join us with our questions.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
So the first question we have is from Elvia. They're saying, I represent student assistants forced out of employment before the end of the quarter. Some of us continue to provide vital programs now virtually. We know that providing students with resources, information, and times to connect, share experiences will continue to impact retention by motivating students to stay the course. Some of us remain vital to students, for example, providing resources such as food drive, by information, resources for students where they can find mental health help. We are wondering if we can at least remain in our jobs until the end of the quarter.
It's my understanding that students, the students that were employed for the spring quarter were in fact, their jobs were secure until the last day of the quarter. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to address this question because actually I saw it coming through. So I communicated with a few folks just to get some clarification because I know the student indicated that they were advocating on behalf of students in this, that work for the Santos Manuel Student Union and the Recreation Wellness Center. So I have confirmed that I believe some misinformation was provided to students that their employment would end the end of May. That is not the case. They will be employed through the end of the quarter as they normally would have been. And then the two units will move to summer hours as they normally would have. So there's some students who would have, will reduced hours after finals. But students who are currently employed in the Santos Manuel Student Union and the Recreation and Wellness Center should expect to be employed through the end of the quarter. So I apologize for any misinformation that went out to students. And you could confirm this with your supervisors in the student union and Rec and Wellness just to make sure that you're all clear on that. But they should be aware of that they should keep everyone employed through the end of the quarter.
Yeah, not only students in SMSU, but students throughout the campus community. So, and even students that were unable to do their jobs remotely. Many students are in fact telecommuting. We didn't implement a temporary telecommuting policy that also applied to students. So our commitment is to continue to pay our student assistants through the end of the quarter. And let me just address our philosophy about student employment. Student employment is very, very important for so many reasons. Students that are employed by the university tend to do better academically, tend to graduate at higher rates. This is a national statistical fact in higher education. So we want to employ as many students as possible. Having said that, we're looking at ways to employ students. You should know that the May revise came out yesterday, and there is a $600 million swing. In other words, in January, when Governor Newsom released his budget, he had proposed to give about $195 million to the CSU. Not enough, but that was what he put on the table. Since COVID and the very significant reduction in state revenues, he yesterday released the May revise that went from a $200 million increase to the CSU to a $395 million decrease to the CSU. So we're, which is about a 10% reduction in our state budget. And so there are going to be some very difficult choices to be made relative to managing this budget reduction. And, but having said that, we are deeply committed to our student assistants. Our student assistants do an incredible job, whether they're peer tutors or peer counselors, whether they work as callers for our advancement operation. So again, we're going to do our best. We'll work very closely with ASI to maximize the number of students who are employed by the campus.
Thank you very much. Next question from our online audience is Herbert?
Hello. So the next question will be, will the credit, no credit option still be available for the fall semester?
That's a decision that has not been made. But as soon as we do make that decision, we'll share that. The credit, no credit, pass, fail option was strictly for this quarter. And, let me just, I'm going to turn it over to the provost to speak to this, but let me just share with you that the credit, no credit, pass fail option is not a panacea. In fact, for students who are pursuing and interested in applying to graduate school or law school, professional school, having 2 consecutive semesters of pass fail is not a good thing. And there's certainly a level of ambiguity regarding whether pass fail, credit, no credit will be accepted by the Veterans Administration for students who are receiving veteran benefits, and whether indeed other students in other programs would be adversely impacted. So to answer the short answer to your question, is that a decision hasn't been made for the fall regarding pass fail. Provost McMahon, do you have anything to add?
I think you've said it all. I think it's really important to communicate with our stakeholder groups. So we'll be meeting with ASI and our faculty as well to discuss this, just as we did this time around, and look at any issues associated with it. I think President Morales brought up many of those issues, but we certainly will have that discussion before we proceed with the decision.
Thank you very much. Next question.
Yes. So will there be any additional stimulus money for students?
Well, we don't know. There are a number of bills making its way through Congress. And we're certainly hoping that there'll be additional stimulus dollars that will go towards students, and also stimulus dollars that will address the losses that the university is experiencing throughout as a result of COVID-19. So we just simply don't know at this point whether we're hearing that there may be some additional support for students, but at this point we don't know.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Morales. I would like to ask the next question from the Q&A. So first off, I want to recognize and acknowledge the leadership, faculty, and staff of CSUSB for their response and roles during and since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. In our hearts, we all know it wasn't easy, and we thank you for your continued efforts. As a senior who will be graduating in spring 2021, my question is to the possible limited availability of certain classes. How flexible will administration be as to waiving certain classes or substituting others?
Sherry, I'm going to turn that over to you, and maybe Rachel if she's available.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Sure. And I think Rachel is available. She's on standby. Certainly, I think that there is a certain amount of units, if I'm not mistaken, at least 3 to 6 units that's built into the quarter to semester conversion plan, which means that there will be some flexibility with courses. I don't have the detail as far as what unit value as we move through this. However, that was considered and is a consideration to help our students, because not everything will match exactly as we finish this process. And Sam, you may also, VP Sudiker, being on as one of our head of our Q to S facilitators, might have an additional response. But I know our faculty want to support students, want to support their graduation. And so we'll work, our department chairs are going to work aggressively to help our students be able to graduate.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Provost McMahon. And just from personal experience, I'd like to add on that that chairs are able to do those kind of substitutions under their preview right. It's all up to their understanding, right, that they can make those kind of substitutions.
Yeah, and I think the key here is students communicating with department chairs, with their faculty, with their advisors, their academic advisors, and their faculty advisors. So I think the communication is critical. And if I can just put a plug in that it's so important, particularly given the many changes and just the dynamic situation that we're in, that everyone read their emails. I mean, it's critically important, and ASI has been incredible, helping us spread the word, helping us get the word out to students via ASI social media outlets. But it's so important, and we're going to continue to have these kinds of forums with students to ensure that students are well informed. I know that the Vice President for Student Affairs, Paz Oliveras, has had several teas with the Vice President, and so we're going to continue to do that. I mean, it's important that we stay connected with our students, and our students stay connected with us.
Thank you very much, Dr. Morales. We're going to move on to the final phase of our event. One last final question from Herbert.
All right. Will student services, Michaela asked, will student services such as the Health Center and the Obershaw Den still be available to students throughout the fall semester?
Great question. Paz, can I turn that over to Vice President Oliveras?
Of course. Yes, I'd be happy to. Yes. So the answer to that question is yes, definitely. And actually, I think it's a good opportunity just to remind students that all of those services are currently available. So please do take advantage of the Obershaw Den and the Den at the PDC if you need those. Those are open for a variety of hours every week. You can find out all that information on our Basic Needs website. So make sure that if that is a need that you have, please take advantage, because we definitely have the resources to support our students there. In addition to that, we also, the Health Center is still up and running. Our counseling and psychological services are still up and running and available to support you. You can find all their information on their websites as well as on their social media on Instagram. So I really recommend that if students are curious about what services are available, that's a place that you go to find that information. But just to give you the short answer, the answer is definitely yes. Those services will continue to be available throughout the summer and fall. So not just in fall, but you can still utilize those services in the summer if you need them.
Only if you're an enrolled summer student, right?
Well, if you are coming back, if you're enrolled for the fall, you can still utilize summer services. And
Okay.
in summer you can, but so it's like if you're graduating and leaving, then obviously you wouldn't be a student anymore, as long as you haven't registered for your fall classes. So make sure you're registered for fall, and then you can continue to use those services during the summer.
Thank you very much, Vice President Oliveras. And with that, we will conclude our questions from our first Fireside Chat. Dr. Morales, would you like to Dr. Morales, or even the cabinet as a whole, would you all like to provide some closing remarks and some last words of encouragement to our students who are currently watching us?
Yeah, I mean, the relationship between our students and the institution is one of caring and compassion. I think, I can speak on behalf of my colleagues on the cabinet, but also every single faculty staff is so committed to the success of our students. But there's also a business relationship between our students and the institution. There's a consumer relationship, and I share that with you because, in order for you to take full advantage of all the services that Vice President Oliveras described, you got to know how to access them. You got to read the COVID-19 website. We do have an emergency grant program through our CARES team. We do have a program out in the Palm Desert campus. We are providing hotspots. We have purchased and are purchasing laptops. So we want to make sure that students have all the tools to succeed. I got a question the other day at our staff open council and faculty open forum whether computer labs will be open, and that's a question that we're still going to determine. And as soon as we know, we will inform the students, because many students have expressed a desire to use the computer labs as opposed to staying at home and trying to work from home. So we will continue to communicate directly. Paz, Sherry, anybody else, Sam, that you may have as closing remarks for our students?
I'll just add a couple really quick things that I just want to remind folks to, as has already been said, please check your email. A lot of the information that we're sharing today will come to you through email. Any new updates will also come to you through email. Also want to strongly encourage you to follow us on social media. You can follow me at CSUSB VPSA or the Division of Student Affairs at CSUSB Student Affairs. And we're always going to be continuing to post any new information about resources available to you, about programming, all the things that we've got going on for the remainder of the quarter, as well as summer and fall. So make sure that you're staying tapped into all those different resources, because that's where you're going to find all the information that you need to ensure that you're successful moving forward.
And if I can add on, thank you. That's great. I think also if you're having trouble in your classes and you feel uncomfortable talking to your faculty member, we have a great academic advising program. Please reach out. We have peer mentoring, supplemental instruction. There's always ways that we can find how to help you be successful. So hang in there. Thanks.
And this is the time to complete your degree or to make progress towards your baccalaureate degree. I just encourage you not to give up. Keep moving forward. We're all going to get through this together.
Thank you very much. Any other closing remarks from Cabinet?
So, I want to echo my colleagues' comments, and also say that you don't have to know who to reach out to. You can reach out to any of us for any of your issues, and we will redirect it at the right direction and get you the answers. So don't worry about who do I reach out to solve this particular issue. We're all in this together, so we're here to help you and point you in the right direction.
Thank you very much. So now moving on to my closing remarks. First and foremost, I would like to thank President Morales for joining us together and putting this student concerns and feedback at the forefront. Not only do I want to thank President Morales, but I want to thank his entire cabinet and Provost McMahon for always looking out in the best interest of the students, right? I know that a lot of the times there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and we as a team do what we can with what we have, right? There's certain policies and certain regulations that don't allow us to do things even as much as we would want to, right? And that's something that I think we all have to take into consideration, that all of us are here breaking our brains to try to think of solutions that would best accommodate our students and at the same time keep our university alive, so we can continue to ensure that we continue to educate for generations and generations to come. Yotes, I encourage you all to keep on providing feedback and concern to us. So if any of your questions were not answered today, you can email us at asi.csusb.edu or visit our website to connect with our team members virtually. Please stay connected with us through our social media and CyberHow. We have some fun activities and coming up as we wrap up the spring quarter. We look forward to doing more activities like these in the future. And with that being said, Yotes, I ask you not to give up. We are going through some uncertain times, but we're all experiencing this. We're all experiencing this together. We're all sheltering in place, and it's hard, right? It's hard. Even I would like to make this public right now that we've had this conversation, but I've suffered from COVID-19, and it was just a huge stressor for my family, and I wouldn't want any of our students to ever go through that and go through that stress, right? So I assure you that every one of these cabinet members reached out to me and ensured that that I was okay. I and my family was good, right? And I want you to know that you have leaders, campus leaders that will always have the best interest of you all, of our students, and it will always try to make our students succeed. They'll put you where you need to be. And with that being said, we conclude our first Fireside Chats with the ASI President and President Morales. And And I look forward to having this event in the near future again. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Have a good afternoon.